Welcome to Making Crafts with MidPointe. I'm Jamie and I'm one of the programmers for MidPointe Library System. And today we'll be doing paper quilling. So this is sort of just an example of what you could do, but it's not a hard, fast rule. I just like using some of these, it's like a wood canvas, or sometimes you'll hear it named cradled wood canvas. And it's just a wooden panel placed on like a rectangle. This one just happens to be a square shape. And instead of using the top, I'm actually using the back side because it creates a nice space to be able to put our coiled pieces of paper into. That way, like if it's sitting, it can have a nice little spot on your countertop, or you could hang it up. But it sort of protects those pieces that are different levels or heights in the piece, because you don't always have to work with just the same height of your paper. Because when you, especially if you make your own sheets to coil, you may make different heights or widths of the paper. Because a lot of times if you buy the quilling paper, you'll get packages that are similar to this, where they tend to be maybe 2/8 of an inch or even 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch. They'll usually come in a lot smaller than 1/2 of an inch, but maybe you want different height variations in your piece like this one. So you may want to cut your own paper. I would recommend using things like copy paper. It's also called bond, or it's 20 pounds typically. When you use things like cardstock, it'll be kind of hard to coil, and then it just makes it real dense. You usually use the cardstock for things that you are not coiling. So say I had like a circle shape that I wanted to be really dominant, that will be an O for maybe someone's name. That I'll probably use cardstock for because it's thick and it'll hold up if I'm just doing one little wrap of a O shape. But with these, just concentrate on making your coils. So you can say you don't want to buy your canvas or your wood panel, and you can use regular canvas too. Just grab some cardstock paper to then place your coils onto, because you'll glue them onto this, but don't feel like you have to glue anything until you've got several pieces of paper coiled. So if you grab one of your pieces of paper, you'll always get it in strips that might be really long, but if you cut your own paper, say it's an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, then your piece may really only be up to 11 inches long. But when you coil these, you usually use what's called a quilling tool. So it has like this needle-like piece on the end of it that has a slot. So it's almost like a needle eye, only it's open at the top. So then you want to put your paper down into that slot. You'll have a little piece kind of hanging out, and one hand is going to have to hold this piece. And since I'm right-handed, I'll hold my quilling tool in the right. And you'll want to I typically roll it away from me, but you may want to roll it towards you. But once you start coiling, you're going to want to go in the same direction the whole time. So you'll just keep going. And I kind of hold this tight as I'm going, and I'll do it faster because I'm more used to it. You can always fix the coil as you go. And you do it until you get all the way to the end. Now, for some of you who might want to make it bigger, so say that doesn't seem thick enough for you, I'll kind of move that out of the way. You can always take another piece of paper and glue it to that one. And you can even change the color. So that'll make your coil multiple colors. So you could do that as well. And I like to personally use just a little toothpick because you don't need much paper to add to that coil. So I just add some typically tacky glue is what I like to use because it has more elasticity while it dries or after it dries versus like Elmer's glue. Elmer's glue tends to dry more like concrete, so you'll see where you glued it. But if that's all you have, just water it down a little bit, mix it up, and then use it. And it should kind of help with the stretchiness of that glue as it dries. So I just add a little bit of glue to this green piece, and let's add the orange to it. And you'll just overlap them. You'll probably have to hold it, and I'm still holding my coil on the quilling tool because if I let go of it, it'll loosen and it'll probably still stay coiled because you're actually changing the memory of the paper as you go. And now I'm just adding that orange to the green. And you could just keep adding different colors if you really wanted to. It just makes your coil thicker. I would still recommend, though, if you're cutting your own paper, to try to use the same size of thickness on your strips, though. When you change colors, it'll just help you when you're trying to hold it. Because if you use something that's really not as thick at first and then use a really thick piece, it's going to hide all that you did on the middle. But now that I'm happy with that, I just hold on to this as I pull it off of the needle. Because now we don't need that. But if you want it to be a tight coil, which is one way to do it, so like this example here, this is considered a tight coil. It has a bigger opening because maybe the needle was a little bigger than the one I'm using now, because you can see the two centers are a little different. But if you want to keep a tight coil, that does kind of give you some different looks to the paper when you put it on your piece, because a lot of paper coiling is literally just using the side of the paper to create textures and different colors and appearances and shapes in your composition. So I could totally just leave it like this and add a little bit of glue to that edge and hold it down, or I can gradually let my fingers loosen, and this will be a more loose coil. And you still get some differences. Now, the orange one is loosening up a lot more, and it's just because I held on to that green a lot longer than the orange. So its memory is more tightly wound than our orange. But say you're kind of like, oh, I really did not want it that wide. You can always hold on to it and kind of pull on that strip again to make the orange tighter. But a lot of times I don't worry about it. You just work with what you can, because the more you do it, the more comfortable you will with how your coils are going to be. So then you just add a little bit of glue and that makes your coils. So you'll be doing that a long time because it does take a lot of coils to fill even a little space like this where it's a little under a 4x4. And you can just do the regular coils like a tight or a loose, or there's some other basic shapes that you can do as well. So if you just stick to your basic shapes, like your tight coil or your loose coil, I already have several made up. So I like to lay down what I have just to see maybe what it looks like or what it could look like, and set it up so that I'm not gluing it down straight away, so I can kind of see what it's going to look like. So if I make it similar to this, maybe I just want to do a whole bunch of different colors, and you'll add glue to just one side of your coil. And a lot of times I honestly just dunk it a little bit and then stick it on to the background of it. And it's fine if there's a little bit that shows up on the sides, because if you do this style, you're going to cover all of the sides anyway by adding additional coils around. So you can always think of compositions where it's like this, where you kind of keep the same colors together in stripes. Or you can make maybe all the reds in a circle in the center and then do the other colors around it, just to kind of point out that there's a shape going on with your coils. But it's really your piece to make yours. So enjoy, and thank you so much for joining me for making crafts with MidPointe. See you later.